How's it going? Adam Drake here, and today I'm going to take you under the hood, my Mugen Seiki MSB1 10 scale electric buggy, my carpet version. So previously I did an under the hood with my dirt car, so now we're going to do the same with the carpet version. To start it off, I have the Futaba T10PX US limited edition radio. This is what I use to control all my RC vehicles, including the MSB1 10 scale electric buggy. So we'll change the camera angle, take a closer look. I also have a body here. This is the stock Mugen body that is painted by Dark Side Designs. I'm just waiting on some smaller decals from Stick It One Racing. I have the Stick It One decals on this yellow body, but they're going to make me some custom, slightly smaller 10 scale graphics. And then also just recently JConcepts released a new JConcepts body for the MSB1, so you can check out that as well. Both work well, and the styling is really good between both the stock Mugen and the new JConcepts body. Mugen also has a lightweight body that is available now. That's what I ended up using when I was at A-Main Hobbies. Not quite as durable, but with the 10 scale cars, durability of the body isn't really much of a problem, because when you roll over, the rear wing and shock tower kind of protect the body. It is thinner, so again, it's not going to be quite as durable as the standard body, but in high grip conditions, especially like running on carpet, the lightweight body lowers the center of gravity and just improves the handling of your car. So we'll take a closer look and I will show you under the hood my MSB1. Like I said, I have the stock MSB1 body, but the lightweight version, again, super thin, lightweight. I use the JConcepts 7-inch carpet wing. This is just the stock wing that I threw on for doing the video. But at the race, I ran the JConcepts 7-inch carpet wing. As far as tires, there's basically two options. There's a fuzz bite and pin swag. Just depends on kind of the amount of steering and grip you need. I felt like with the pin swag in the front, it was a little bit more aggressive than the fuzz bite. And in the rear, it was actually a little bit smoother. So like through the sweeping sections, if your car is kind of grabby or edgy, running the pin swag in the rear kind of smoothed out and just made the car a little more flowing through those sweeping sections. But what is kind of the most common used would be fuzz bite rear and pin swag front, or in some cases, fuzz bite all the way around. These are mounted on the JConcepts yellow wheels. The fronts are the narrow wheel for carpet. As far as the inserts go, in the front tires on carpet, we run no inserts, just air. And in the back, I have the stock JConcepts inserts, but I did cut the insert slightly narrower. So I basically cut the insert to be the width of the tire. The insert comes a little bit wider, which I guess just depending on the conditions, just kind of a tuning option. I didn't round the inside and outside, but I did cut the foam just a little bit more narrow. As far as power plant goes, when I was at A-Main Hobbies for the 20th anniversary edition, we did a club race, and they had a little over 100 entries between the off-road and on-road portion, but not enough entries to run modified. So I ran the HOBBYWING XR10 Pro Stealth Edition ESC with the HOBBYWING G4R motor. And with this, I started with the standard rotor, and I ended up using for the race the torque rotor. I felt like with the torque rotor, it just gave me a little bit better feel on bottom, a little bit more acceleration, and I felt like I didn't really lose any top end We ran kind of the half track because half was on-road, half was off-road. So maybe if we ran the full track with 17.5, maybe the standard rotor would have been good on a track that's more sweeping. But again, I didn't really feel like I lost really any top end. It just got to that top speed quicker with the torque rotor. As far as gearing goes, I have the Protek aluminum pinion. I believe I ended up settling on, it was a 31 tooth. Maybe if it was a little bit bigger track, you may want to try like a 32, or if it's a smaller, tighter track, a 29 or 30. And as far as the spur gear goes, I have the stock Mugen 72 spur gear. The steering servo is a Protek 160 TBL. And then I have the Futaba 404 SBE receiver. I have the HOBBYWING reverse polarity capacitor here. This is super awesome and kind of a must-have. We've all made the mistake and we've plugged our battery in backwards, and you don't want to damage any of your electronics. So this just makes it to where you can accidentally plug it in backwards and it doesn't cause any damage to your electronics. As far as the battery goes, I have the Protek 2S 4800 milliamp shorty battery. I also ran a 4400 milliamp battery there. It's just a little bit not quite as tall, so a little bit lighter battery. As far as performance, like I didn't really notice a big difference in power. With stock, you can run for such a long time with even the 4400 milliamp. It was more of just a tuning depending on the weight that I wanted. Under the battery, I have the battery tray, the steel tray. So this is the thinner of the two. This is just the 19 gram weight. Some guys run the larger, I believe it's a 37 gram weight. And then I have just a little piece of foam. This was mainly for like when I was switching between 44 and 4800 milliamp battery. It allowed me to not have to adjust the height here. And then it also just made the car a little bit more quiet when landing some of the bigger jumps. You wouldn't have the battery shifting or moving around on that steel plate. I have a Protek 30 millimeter fan just to help keep the HOBBYWING G4R motor a little bit cooler. I have my transponder mounted here right behind the servo. Originally I had it mounted flat like my dirt car right in between the HOBBYWING ESC and Protek servo. But for whatever reason at Outback Raceway, when I stood it up, the hits were a little bit stronger. I have inside the shocks the Flashpoint 2-hole pistons. If any of you guys have any questions, you can shoot me an email and I can send you my setup from A Main Hobbies. I have both a dirt setup available from Coyote Hobbies and a carpet setup from Outback Raceway. With the shocks, as you can see here, I have the rear shocks inverted or mounted upside down. And before going and racing, I talked a bunch with Mark Noperi, and he was super, super helpful with kind of dialing me in. I did make some small changes from his setup, but he's been running a lot, and I wanted to kind of start with his baseline setup, which was with the rear shocks inverted. It's pretty simple to do. You just use the upper shock standoff, longer screw, and then up top, I just used a flanged 3mm nut and then a few washers just to get the proper shimming. As far as aftermarket parts from Mugen, I do have the Mugen aluminum clamping steering servo mount. And like I said, I have the battery weight. I have the steel weight or electronics tray holding my HOBBYWING and Futaba electronics. I did use a front wing at the race, and then this front shock tower cover, you can see the one side broke off. I believe this is from RC1. Mark Noperi gave me that just to allow, if you flip over, the shock tower doesn't snag the carpet. I ran sway bars front and rear, gear diff with 2 gears and 80K in the gear diff. I have the slipper eliminator. That just kind of helped a little bit with acceleration. I wouldn't recommend using that if you're running modified, but with stock, you're kind of trying to get every bit of power out of it that you can. And yeah, overall, that is a closer look at my Protek and HOBBYWING powered Mugen MSB1 that is grip in the ground with tires and wheels from JConcepts and controlled by my Futaba T10PX US limited edition radio.